This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. On Stockbox today, we're joined by George Roach, the CEO of Premier African Minerals, to answer some shareholder questions. So, welcome, George. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And Mark, I trust you're well as well.
Yes, I'm very well. Thank you, George. Thank you very much for your time to answer some questions that we've been sent by shareholders. So, let's start off with the first question that I have, which is, when the DFS for the larger Zulu area was announced, we were told that there were many approaches for direct funding, as well as a joint venture, and it was imminent. Now, 2 months plus on, and you've said no to a joint venture and no news on funding, except the removal of a clause so that you can issue more shares. So why no funding news?
Okay. So, Mark, that's a whole lot of questions kind of rolled up in one, and I think there's some sequencing I need to sort out. First of all, the DFS quotation and program and so on that we were going to follow for Zulu is something that was planned and quoted on actually a couple of years ago, before we had the extended exclusive prospecting order, which increased the size of the overall Zulu lithium project. Now, prior to the grant of the exclusive prospecting order, when we only had the limited claims, the small claims area, we were sitting in a very significantly undervalued situation. And the view that we as a board, our board was taking, was that to try and fund the DFS, which has a total cost of 5.1 million US projected, to try and fund that through the issuance of additional Prem shares and in a normal placement basis would have been far too dilutive. And accordingly, we were looking to rather dispose of a portion of the equity in the project itself directly. Now, once the EPO was granted and a little bit more of the underlying value in Prem started to be appreciated, I think that it makes much more sense that we try and retain 100% of the ownership of the Zulu project and rather, in a more conventional manner, fund the DFS in stages, and in so doing, demonstrate the additional value that is going to come out of this project, and along the way see a better understanding of Prem, a better appreciation of the value of Prem, and as we go forward, retention of 100% of the Zulu project, in our opinion, is going to be the better outcome for all of us as shareholders. And of course, I'm also a shareholder, apart from being part of the management and the board of Prem. So I'm concerned from both points of view. So I think that just going back on that the looking to do a JV of some kind, which would have cost us direct equity in the project at a point when we were so seriously undervalued, was the right decision. But with a better appreciation of the value of Prem and a better market capitalization, I think looking at it another way is, in the whole scheme of things, going to be much less dilutive to our shareholder holding, to shareholders' direct holding, should I say, in the Zulu project. So I think that's what underlies that. Now, the second component of that question relates to the number of funding opportunities and approaches and so on that we've had. And there are many of these, and there are many ongoing discussions at the moment. But Prem is in a position where it cannot formally accept a placement or any other form of direct funding without some disapplication of preemptive rights on some shares, to allow us to look to a partial, and that's the plan at this stage, a partial funding of the work required to complete the DFS. Now, I say a partial funding because I believe that as we go through this DFS program, we are going to see significant value enhancement and enhancing steps along the way. For example, a lot of the initial work on the DFS is extensive additional resource drilling, resource definition work, work into the extended EPO area, and so on. And based on what our exploration geos and our exploration team has already told us, they anticipate that there is a very substantial exploration target and a likelihood of much better definition of the resource, et cetera, as we go forward. So I'm hoping that with a news flow, we'll be in an even better position a little further down the line to deal with the balance of the funding required to complete the DFS in a much less costly manner than would have been the case prior to the awarding of the EPO. I hope that clears that as best I can at the moment anyway.
Yes, it was a good answer for a fairly long question, but it does lead nicely into the next question, which is sort of sticking with the funding idea. And the question is, do you have plans to joint venture in the future with someone to help with funding and setting up a functioning mine?
Well, yes, there have been some very interesting discussions in regard to that, and they are still ongoing. I think that one needs to balance taking a decision now in terms of who's going to be the offtake partner and who you're going to work with in building a mine in the future. You need to balance taking that decision now with taking the decision a little way down the line, a little later this year, probably, when we've progressed into the DFS program, when we have hopefully an enhanced understanding of the value of the project. And I think all of that is going to put us into a stronger position. The other supportive view to that is that the fundamentals associated with lithium seem to be getting stronger. And I can't help feeling that postponing a final decision as to exactly who's going to be your build partner, offtake partner, and where your concentrate and so on is going to go to a little further down the line is going to put us into an even more competitive situation from the point of view of people who need. So I'm not in any desperate hurry to make any sign-off commitments in that direction yet. And I think that it should be beneficial to delay it rather than to try and do that right now.
Okay. And the next question is, what corporate or project advancements will be achieved by issuing more shares to the market?
The only advancement that we are really concerned with at the moment is the Zulu DFS. Mm-hmm. I've already publicly stated, and I've said it again, I'll say it again now, that the budget for the DFS is 5.1 million United States dollars. I don't think that there's a need to try and fund all of that in one go right now. The DFS time frame is about 14 months. So I'm really concerned only with the initial phases of this and putting us in a position where we can adequately report what I hope is going to be exploration and resource details that are going to enhance the value of the project. So it's not a case of asking for a disapplication for a quantity doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be an issuance of that quantity. In fact, I would say quite the contrary at the moment. I see no need on our present trading and our present market capitalization and so on to run off and start raising the amount of money that this application would allow. I don't think that it's necessary. I don't think it's what we want to do.
Okay. Well, the next question is, are you considering a possible sale of Zulu after the DFS if spodumene hits a peak price?
All I can say to that is anything's for sale at the right price.
Uh-huh.
The answer is that we have a completely open mind on that. We're not in the business to try and generate some kind of quick sale or whatever it may be. But if there is a party that has that objective in mind and that's what they want and they make reasonable and fair offers, we'll consider it. But just let me emphasize, I'm not running around trying to sell the project at this moment in time. I don't think we'd get the kind of value that I think lies in this project if we were to run around on that basis right now.
Okay, well, George Roach, the CEO of Premier Africa Minerals, thank you very much for coming on and answering some shareholder questions for us.
Thank you, Mark. It's been a pleasure, as always.
Thank you for listening to this Stockbox interview. For more information, interviews and videos, visit our website at stockboxmedia.com or give us a follow on Twitter by searching @StockboxMedia.